Hello, Wargamers, and welcome to the first episode of the Drop Podcast. We're finally getting this first episode up and running here, and just wanted to do an introduction on who we are, how long we've been in the hobby, and what sort of our goals are on the show, what we're going to be talking about. I, of course, am Inquisitor Nathan, here with Commissar Michel, and we'll just kind of start right into the introductions and how long we've been doing the hobby. I'm not new to wargaming. I have known about 40K and Warhammer Fantasy for quite a while and seen it throughout the years, but I never really jumped into actually playing the game. I've of course always been interested in fantasy type hobby games where you had fantasy combat. I played D&D for a number of years. As I'm trying to think of wargaming stuff specifically, what I would have been into at least in my younger childhood days, middle school days, probably something like Mech Warrior, I would say, was something I got into that would be on the wargaming end of stuff. I loved playing that game. Never played any of the old BattleTech stuff, but the Mech Warrior war game I thought was really nice and cool, and I would say that was probably my introductory to that whole world, the whole wargaming, tabletop wargaming world, and I've always loved it from then on. I took a long hiatus from that though, and never really kind of went back to wargaming until recently, and I decided that I found myself in a hobby shop one day, actually out here at one of the Games Workshop stores in Eastlake, and I went in with my fiance, and she was like, hey, these models are really cool. We had got into painting models for D&D, and she just really loved these models and the look of them, and she's like, these look really fun to paint, and I agreed with her. I said, yeah, you know, this just looks like a pretty cool thing here to paint. I think we were looking at like a Chaos model. We had kind of caught our eye in the shop window, and from there we were talking to the Games Workshop representative, and we talked about the starter set. We bought ourselves a Dark Vengeance set, and shortly after that I sort of started compiling and putting the pieces and bits together, and I really liked the Chaos models in that set. I actually didn't care too much for the Dark Angels models, but I liked the Chaos models, so it was sort of a good, nice introductory purchase, I would say, to the Warhammer 40K hobby, and a pretty cool looking set, you know, to get in with. It, of course, had the miniature rule book in it, and that was a really nice resource to have. You know, you didn't have to buy the main rule book, that bulky rule book, and it was sort of like a pocket-sized thing. So for me, I just thought it was a really great value. We that day also got like $20 in vouchers for paints, so we bought some paints and brushes with that as well, and we were kind of all set to kind of just get right into it. But you know, that's sort of my experience getting into Warhammer, and now I've been modeling and painting for about, I'd say, a few months time, and I've got a few games under my belt, but that's really where I'm at now. You know, like I said, I'm sort of a neophyte to everything and still learning and still growing with everything. So I'm going to actually turn it over to Commissar Mike here, and he's going to tell you, Mike, when did you start getting into Warhammer, and what was the army that you got into it with?
Well, originally I started playing in the late 90s. And my first army was Sisters of Battle, and we all know how GW likes to come out with new material for them every so often. So back in the day, you know, it felt
Wait, you guys just got new stuff for Sisters.
Yeah,
you got Imperial Agents.
Back in the day, though, everybody knows we didn't have too much to go by, and soon after that, I scrapped that idea and actually started playing Chaos. And back in the day, I had a circle of friends that we all got together and we played every week. And
now, I don't think I've seen any Chaos stuff from you, dude.
No, I'll get to that eventually.
Okay.
So that was also a short-lived army, because one day I was playing against one of my friends, and he had a Katashan army of Imperial Guard, and started dropping templates on my head and killing all my dudes. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty sweet. And I like the way the tanks look also.
Yep, I'm a tank junkie. I like the Imperial Guard tanks. They're super cool looking.
Yeah, he basically converted me over to the Imperial Guard. And back in those days, all you longtime players probably remember Codex Armageddon. That came out way back in the day. And for its release, GW did $200 boxed armies. And yeah, your choices were, it was Black Templars, Salamanders, and Armageddon Steel Legion. And I bought the Steel Legion box, and that's how I got started. And
those actually do sound like cooler armies, though, than the starter box sets, at least that I've seen.
Yeah,
now. I don't know.
Back in the day, they had. I think the Army deals back in the day are better than what they are now. Of course, all the models are pewter, and in that box set, you didn't really like the value of it. Wasn't really like that great. It was actually the Black Templar box that was worth a lot in value for like the less money.
So again, how many years would you say then, like off and on, and you're getting back into the hobby, right?
I played from right around like 98, 99, and I stopped in 2004.
Okay.
And actually played my first game about 2 months ago. Since then.
Well, yep, that's all right. So there you have it. Where I guess we're both kind of in that.
Yeah, I might as well be a noob.
And we're starting in 7th edition. Of course, all the rumors and things are kind of talking about how everyone kind of suspects 8th edition coming out now. What's going to go on with that. But we have some plans, not only with just what we want to do here with the podcast and with the YouTube channel. I do want to give a shout out to. First of all, the local hobby shops that we want to get involved. There are a lot of shops in Northeast Ohio, I think, hobby shops in general for board games. You've got Magic the Gathering. We've got a pretty huge Magic the Gathering community in Northeast Ohio. And we recently, just this last Saturday, had the launch party for the podcast, and that was hosted at Wings, Wheels, and Waves in Massillon with the store owner there, Michel Guest, who we will be hearing from later on. A little bit background with him and in the shop and things. But we also stopped into, and I gave some information, and hopefully we hope at some point to be hosting games at Sir Troy's Toys on Main Street in North Canton. And I've also spoken with a gentleman at Automaster Auto Body, Jamie, and his last name is escaping me at the moment, but Jamie does run games within his Auto Body shop on Fridays as well, which is, pretty cool. There's some really nice people that play there, and we hope to be playing games with them. And sort of just involving, the community and getting the shops involved in this sort of what we have an idea for campaigns and for a tournament. Now, for that kind of a format, I did a lot of reading and a lot of research. I did actually a lot of that while getting into 40K as well. Made the account on Daka and all that kind of stuff. And I came across the folks over at the Long War channel and their Facebook page and all their social media stuff that they do. And it's really great stuff. They have really great stuff over there. And I really liked their tournament style sheets that they use for like Adepticon tournaments, and the whole thing with them was the idea of it was bringing the hobby back, and they took a really different approach to how they wanted to do a tournament or a campaign type of a setting, because your score was a lot more than just winning games. It featured things like a hobby score, so it would incorporate painting, army themes, sportsmanship, and I think all that stuff is really important. You could, with a system like that, potentially win every game and still come in maybe not last place, but not first place. You come in like 5th, 6th, even though you stomped everybody. You can't just show up with the cheese list and just do work. So we sat down, and Mike had kind of told me this idea that he has for this campaign that he used to be into back in the day called Sector Wars. So Mike, you want to go ahead and just give us some background and what that entails, what Sector Wars is, what we kind of plan to do with that?
Well, basically it's a campaign to get multiple shops in the area involved as well as their players. We're trying to break the habit of these cliques where, one group plays at just this location, and this group plays at just this location. And
cliques in a gaming environment. No,
we're trying to open things up.
Right.
Broad range of
absolutely
of players and all that, and get kind of build the community.
Right.
Make it stronger. That sort of deal. Well, anyways, this is a campaign that I played in way back in like the early 2000s. I played at a shop that has been out of business for quite some time, unfortunately, and it was a pretty cool idea. The shop owner had basically graph paper, and he set it up into like quadrants, and rolled like a couple D6s for each side of the sheet, made coordinates for planets. And basically the gist of it is everybody who played in the campaign got a home planet and 2 satellite planets. And basically on your home planet, you played as many points as your army was, as big as your army was.
Okay.
So if you had like 6,000 points worth of like orcs or space marines, whatever, you had that on your home planet, and then on your satellite planet, you basically kept a garrison of at least the 2 troops in HQ choice that you need to play the game in the first place.
Okay.
And then basically you went around and you searched for other planets, and if you found one that was unoccupied, you basically took that over. And if you stumbled across somebody else's planet,
right,
you contact that person, you come in, you play a game, and you fight over that planet.
Okay. So, all right.
Basically, how it went down, and yeah, it was a pretty fun campaign. There's a lot more details to it if you want to make it like
right,
real legit, and
the goal would be, to be able to play games at multiple different places. Everyone may not be able to get to a certain location. Like I said, thankfully we have the option of gaming stores kind of all around. I mentioned Sir Troy's. Obviously we mentioned Wings, Wheels, and Waves, where we did the launch party cast in Massillon there. There's JAC Games out in Akron. They've got some pretty nice tables there. But mainly you want to find, I think, space, and you want to find people who have decent scenery, terrain, and some boards. And I know that the guys that we play with, I know they're working on some boards, and Jamie over at Automaster, he has some really nice boards to play on. Those are pretty cool. So I don't think you haven't been in there yet, so I haven't shown you those boards yet.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen them.
But yeah, I think that'll be a big thing about it. I do want to go over real quick, since I did bring it up a little bit earlier, in I guess more detail. Just gonna go over real quick this like Adepticon sheet that I had found for the PDF, and the reason why I was saying that I respect how this is done, and I think it was done very well. You would write your team name or army name or whatever on the sheet, and then you go down here and it says, is the team painted to a standard that shows, true hobby effort? If the judge would check yes, then it's automatic 7 points there. If no, it says, then is the team at least painted at a 3-color minimum? If yes, that would be 3 points. If not, of course, the points are 0. One of the options on this sheet was, are the models loved? Do they display extra highlights, blending, and other techniques? And you could get a point for that. Another section says, are the models identifiable? Do they display thematic unit identification? You can get a point for that. If not, obviously you don't get the point. One of the options says, were they made by a hobby maniac, and do they display conversion on the model, any kind of kit bashing or epic model substitutions, and they would give you a point for that kind of thing. And if you have a display board, if you did some of that really nice, just display stuff, the basing, if the basing is done well, you get another 2 points for that. And on that sheet, I don't think there was a section for like a sportsmanship score or anything like that, but I do think that's important too, and we won't get too much into adulting. We obviously want to be playing our war games with adult attitudes, but that probably could take up a whole show for a whole nother time. And speaking about that, we actually did not too much. We didn't get too much of that, but we did have a little bit of complaining at the launch party when we jumped into the last game that we played for the day, which ended up taking us, how many hours would you say?
At least 3.
We started at 6, and we didn't actually even finish the game. We were still only on turn 2, and our one friend said, well, why don't we just do 4-on-4, and we'll do 2,000 point list. Now, I have never played a game that big. I'm like, yeah, I'm all like, that's going to be super cool, and I just want to see all these models on the board, and we're just going to be doing stuff. It's going to be super fun. And everyone starts pulling their stuff out. The one guy pulls out a Supremacy battle armor, which is this huge town model. Brandon pulled out a knight detachment, so what was it, 4 or 5 Imperial Knights?
He had 5 knights. He brought 5 knights to the game.
To even get myself to that point, I brought out a Oathsworn detachment and made it a Lord of War for my Forge-Willed QUESTORIS Knight MAGAERA. So I was playing with that, and then I played with a Skyhammer Annihilation Force, so we kind of just made these lists really like, oh, okay, we're going to do 2,000 point game. Let's do a 2,000 point game. And that is what we did till the end of the night.
This is per person, by the way. It's not just 2,000 points per side. It's
2,000 points
4 on
per
4.
army.
Everybody's running 2,000 point lists, and the table got, not only did the table get crowded, it got pretty lopsided by turn 2. I would think.
Lopsided? What do you mean?
Like just stuff just dying left and right. Like,
oh, well, our stuff or their stuff? Because I was
ours was starting to get wrecked because of the flyers. All their flyers came in on turn 2, and when they did, it was just all bad.
That sucked. There was a little bit of upsetness because somebody had mentioned before the game. We had said, leading up to the launch of the podcast, we had said, hey, these are casual games. We're just coming to have some fun. But personally, and maybe it's just because I haven't played all that many games, but I also really think this has generally held true for me. I think people should be able to play whatever they want, and, you play around it. And, if somebody has a crappy layer, you lose to that list, then you bring something different, or you bring something different when you play that person. And, I guess maybe I'm just too much of an optimist. I see every loss as like a point to learn. Essentially, I'm not going to get super mad about it. My first game playing Tyranids, I learned very quickly that you take like a minimum 6 synapse creatures, because I think I took 3 and they all started to eat each other, and that was terrible. And I was like, oh no, I can get away with this. I'll be fine. And I couldn't, So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too happy. I'm not to that disgruntled point of the game. I hope I never get there, though. I don't think I will. But I think people should be able to pretty much play what you want. But we said, bring your stuff. We'll have fun, And it was just sort of on the fly. We just decided to do these 2,000-point 4-on-4 lists. And then people started pulling out the super big stuff, which, I was fine with. I had some super big kind of stuff. I mean, the Magira's kind of super big. That's a thing.
It tries to be big. It tries.
Whatever. I like him. I don't think he's probably one of the best Forge World Knights, but I still think he's pretty good. I mean, the Lightning Cannon's pretty good. But, you borrowed Mike Guest, the shop owner. You borrowed his Shadow Sword, right?
I did.
So you had the Shadow Sword. You had your tanks. I had my Mageera, my Skyhammer Force. I think I did have my Inquisition Rhino in there that was carrying my offshoot Imperial Fist Marines, which I actually was really surprised with the Imperial Fist offshoot chapter guys shooting as well as they did, like with the bolt guns. They actually killed quite a bit of stuff when he was coming at me with those Necron destroyers. They actually started really taking stuff out, and that made him quite mad.
Oh, I wrecked his destroyers with just my tanks.
But
I ran a mechanized infantry list.
Well, I hit it with the lightning cannon, and that caused some upsetness. But like I said, Brandon had the knight detachment, and the main thing was I think people, or at least I can't remember his name even for the life of me, but he was a little bit mad because we had a lot of D weapons on our side, and D weapons destroy Necrons pretty handily. They just kind of just wreck it, and they don't get to do that reanimation thing, right? If they get killed with a D weapon.
The other Necron player didn't really have a problem with the Knights. He took out 2 all by himself with Gauss weapons. So it really isn't.
Was that with the Gauss weapons on that? What's that? Model names are escaping me now. What's that big model? I don't know this Xenos crap. What's that big Necron looking building thing he had?
Talk about the monolith.
The monolith, yeah. That thing was shooting me with gauze, and I actually didn't put up my ion shield on the knight right away, and it just started doing work on my knight. I think it halved his life actually, and put like an immediate 3 wounds on him just from getting shot with the gauze. So that was not fun. But then I blew it up with my claw because I weapon struck it, and it just insta died pretty much. And the explosion didn't even touch him because he's front armor 13. So, but it was a fun game on the whole. I think we had a lot of fun overall. We did some cool stuff. We were able to give away a few posters.
Give away a what was that? A novel? The Mont-Ka book?
Yeah, the Mont-Ka for the Tau Tactics, courtesy of Mike Guest. We were able to give that away for the day. We kept track of victory points throughout the day. Which, speaking of contests and things, we do, of course, plan to do this with the podcast and with the channel. And we haven't figured out exactly how we're going to do it, where it's going to be like likes and shares, and we're going to tally that up for episodes or for the channel and the page and things. But at the end of the year, we do plan to give away a QUESTORIS Knight Mageera. I received a QUESTORIS Knight from Forge World in an order that I got. So we want to, it was, hey, this is awesome, cool. I've got this QUESTORIS Knight Mageera that came with my order. So thanks, Forge World. You're awesome, guys. I have to thank you guys in person when I go to Las Vegas at the LVO this year in 2017. But we were going to go ahead and give that Imperial Knight Forge World model away at the end of the year, and we'll be coming up with a way to do a contest for that. So keep in tune and touch and stay with us, guys, and we'll plan on doing something for that. We do plan to have some painting tutorials videos up as well. I know I'm working on that sort of stuff. And Mike, you can probably do some of those videos also. I don't think I'd talked to you yet about painting videos, but
yeah, I'm slightly below average when it comes to painting.
Well, there you have it.
Not really. I'm halfway decent.
He's a commissar. They're just
I'll shoot you in the face.
Whatever, man. You can't shoot an Inquisitor in the face. I'm an Inquisitor. I actually have the list that I was running for that army in front of me. Let's see, just to take a quick gander at this. My Marines had bolt guns. Space Marine Sergeant had a bolt pistol, and a chain sword. And they shall know no fear rule. That did help me out when I had one. So I'll just start from the beginning. So the Skyhammer Annihilation Force came in. I chose to have it come in on turn 2, and I deep struck it right into the Tau territory, into the Tau lines. It ended up being an ouchie for my one Devastator squad that was in the pod. He got shot. What did he get shot by? Some
I don't even know.
Big-ass Tau battle suit. I got some bullshit shot. Like, he got to shoot.
I think weren't they crisis suits or something?
No, it was not a crisis suit. It was something other than that.
The
ghost kill. Probably his ghost kill, maybe. Something got to do something before I got to do my stuff.
They raped his face, basically. He did not have a squad left, pretty much.
Well, hang on a second. No. They didn't totally eliminate the squad. They took out all but one of my Devastator squad Marines, which was Reggie. It was Reggie.
No, it was the leader, right? Because he needed the beacon.
No. I was able to get the beacon. The locator beacon helped my other squad get in there. And then after that happened, after the pods dropped and I rolled the scatter, that's when he shot at that Devastator squad. And Reggie the Renegade Servo Skull ended up being the only Devastator left. I decided on this model to attach a Servo Skull head and say this is Reggie the Renegade Servo Skull. He just takes over Marine bodies. When they get shot up, he takes over a new one because he had a little bit of brain matter left in his skull, and he got a bullet in the back of the head, and he thinks he's a Space Marine, so we don't tell Reggie any different. But poor Reggie was the last guy in this Devastator squad, just doing work with his grav cannon and grav amp, just hitting those Tau suits. So I was able to eliminate that last broadside unit, I think, before they finally all got wiped out. But that was mostly because I was able to get my assault guys into close combat with the broadside suits and kind of tie them up. And, Tau aren't really close combat guys. So it did work out. They did what they were supposed to do. Launch in there, tie stuff up and basically die, or get out. I just wasn't able to get them out because there was so much back there. And I think I mishapped actually with something. What did I mishap with?
Your assault squad.
Was it an assault squad? Yeah, one of my completely full assault squads just mishapped right off the board. That was awful. And then I rolled a 1, which was like their auto-destroyed, I think. So yeah, that was all kinds of bad. But
they actually would not let me target your guys with my orbital bombardment.
Yeah, because it's a rule.
Well, I mean, the thing scatters so much that it wasn't going to just blow you up on sight,
Yeah, it probably would have with your rolls though, because you roll like you would have done your stupid roll and killed all my shit anyway. But yeah, that orbital bombardment. What's the point of that even really? I mean,
it's just a free ordnance template to drop on someone's head.
It's
not really.
What's
free.
The damage on it?
It's strength 9 AP 3, I believe.
Strength 9 AP 3, and scatters everywhere.
Not everywhere. A pretty fair distance if you roll bad enough, like I did yesterday.
What is it? 3d6.
If you roll a hit on the scatter dice, it still goes 2d6, and if you roll an arrow, it goes 3d6 in whatever that direction is.
Wow.
So it's not like accurate by any stretch of the imagination. So,
but is it powerful if it does hit though?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's
okay.
Yeah, it's not too shabby.
Yeah.
A little bit better than a battle cannon, but
yeah.
Well, not as accurate for sure.
Yeah, and the couple lists I'm working on now, I was paid a whole contingent of Tyranids for a painting commission that I've been doing. board games. So that was my first ever 40K army, was these contingent of Tyranids. And thank you, Graydon Hendershot, for that, by the way. They're a lot of fun to play. I love playing the Tyranids. I don't think I have enough good stuff with them, though. I could maybe benefit from putting those guys that have the cannons on their backs. The name escapes me right now. And adding Gene Stealer units to that army. I think I would need to add Gene Stealer units to the army to make it somewhat more effective. But I haven't done that, and I haven't wanted to really spend the money because I wanted to build up my Space Marines list and get that kind of going. I'm working on getting these Knights painted up. I still have to paint the MAGAERA, and I wanted to light up and paint one of the Knight Crusaders. If you guys, it's not that I'm opposed to doing maybe a video while I do that or posting updates for the project of lighting the Knight up, but I'm working on pure just experimentation with it, so I would fear that it wouldn't be entertaining enough just to kind of see me possibly failing or having to redo stuff, or that would have to be like a really edited video for me to do that. Do you have any conversions on your tanks at all, Mike? Do you have any, like, special stuff you've done to them or anything like that? I've seen people do turrets that move or lighting on the engines and that kind of thing.
No, I just I put them together as they come, and I'm working on painting them all right now. Actually, that's been a work in progress for about a decade or so or more.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I didn't bother painting.
You're not kidding, like an actual decade.
Yeah, like all the tanks I have are old school, pretty old school. I actually bought a newer Lehman Russ kit last night.
Lehman Russ, he's about to die, right? Because Magnus is on his planet, about to kill him.
Yeah.
Isn't that what's going on with Lehman Russ?
No, he's too much of a bamf to die. So
he's not a bamf, he's a furry.
Exactly.
Oh no, I'm about to bring out the hate now. I'm about to bring out the hate comments and start the flame wars.
Don't worry, Space Wolves will wreck any Marine he makes anyway. So. No,
I actually think the Rubric Marines are really cool looking, though.
They are. I actually played Thousand Suns when I did play Chaos way back in the day.
Okay.
And back in those days, they had just the pewter one pose models, where it was just all one piece, like you didn't put on arms or
all right. So again, as sort of a neophyte, with 40K models in general, painting them and everything, pewter sucks. Pewter sucks for gluing. Pewter sucks for painting. I just think it sucks. Oh, it sucks to strip it. I bought some stuff from a friend recently, and I was stripping a Dreadnought, a Chaos Dreadnought, and a regular Dreadnought. Then I let it soak in Simple Green, which is what everybody on all the forums says to do when you're stripping the paint. And I did that. It still sucked to do that. Like, I was able to brush off pretty much all of it, and then recoat it with primer. And now I'm redoing it again. But I think it is harder to get detail and to decently paint a pewter model and obviously get the paint to stick. First of all,
I'm pretty partial to pewter models.
Why?
Considering
why do you like them better?
Well, I mean, the fact that 95% of the 40K stuff, that's not tank related, just troop base, is made out of pewter. Like, I'm just used to painting on it. It's all you gotta do is just prime it and. Yeah, but
there's detail issue. I don't know. Maybe just because I'm get anal when I'm painting them, that I'm like, I find that there's
my guys are a dime a dozen, so I mean.
Well, that's true. Fix bayonets and charge and die for the Emperor.
Yeah. I mean, to paint them, one squad at a time, you can go pretty basic schemes, and you don't have to like pimp them out with like all the shading and fine details, unless you really want to do that to like 50 plus guys, depending on what size your army is.
But that's my problem. I don't just want to paint my stuff to a tabletop standard. Like, I want my stuff to look fucking nice. Pardon my language. I want my stuff to look really, really, really awesome. And I get stuck too much on the detail and the small stuff. So that's why it's actually taken me along to this point to be like, okay, I'm just going to play with some of my stuff unpainted on the board, so I can get out there and then learn the army and kind of learn the formation and have experience so that I can kind of know what to do when I'm actually hitting the table with this. But yeah, I think I get stuck on that. I think I fall into that trap myself.
And eventually we're going to actually post videos of the armies that we use, when we do play.
Well, yeah, the plan is to do battle reports, right?
Yeah,
so
well, we're going to show our work in progress, like
oh, okay, yeah,
the guys that we do have, and as we're painting them up and everything. Like I said, I'm working on my tanks right now, and
okay,
I haven't done like they don't even have treads on them, and they've been that way since the early 2000s, and I'm just getting started, finally finishing them up. Heck, I just painted the last of my guys, like 3 months ago?
Yeah, that's
About
the last
3
of
months
the Demi Company Marine? Or
No, my Imperial Guard.
Imperial Guard, yeah. And then he goes out and buys a Space Marine Demi Company.
Well,
just randomly out of the fucking blue. Just, here you go.
They're used for like bigger sized games. Like I can't like climb the ladder to get to like Apocalypse type.
So you're gonna make them salamanders, though, right?
Type stuff. Yeah. I'm thinking about doing that.
Thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% set on a particular chapter. Maybe some of our listeners out there can help me out.
Help the commissar. We want to take. In fact, we're gonna do. That's it. We'll do a poll. What should Commissar Mike make for his Space Marine army, and play with that? I mean, I've got all these Rapier last cannon batteries to destroy his metal box army. So.
Well, he'll try.
Yeah. I actually only have 2 of those Rapier batteries, though. I don't have more than 2. I do want to get more of those. I just love those little things. They didn't die all game. Those little last cannon twin-link lab. Maybe nobody just cared about them.
It's because you hid behind my chimeras.
I did, actually. I kind of used yours as like my metal shield. I think people just forgot about them. I think that's what it was. But yeah, that'll be a good thing to do as well. I think that with seeing how time progresses and what we're going to do in the future, I want to kind of swing it back to what we mentioned, not on the contest stuff particularly, but I do want to do giveaways throughout the year as well. But there is something exciting that we're going to be doing for coming up recently here. LVO, the Las Vegas Open Convention, held out there for
it's like the first weekend of February, right?
Yeah, the first weekend of February. Frontline Gaming, that's it. That's who puts that on. We're gonna be there, and we're gonna cover the World Championship matches. Well, I am. Commissar Mike is not gonna be there.
I'll be on assignment.
He's on assignment. Maybe we'll Skype him in so he can say some really intelligent stuff on the stream.
Yeah.
And just add your charm here. Charm to the discussion. But I will be there. My girl is going to be with me, so she can help with some coverage and maybe some streaming stuff as well, and sort of what's going on. We hope to be talking to a lot of the guys at the booths, maybe getting some interviews or sit-downs with the players. And hopefully, I'll get to talk to some Games Workshop, and the Forge World guys will be there too, I believe. And I think this is actually the first time in quite a while, if they're going to be there, that Games Workshop has gone to LVO or actually starting to go to these conventions since they've had like an ownership change, sort of a new CEO change. They're kind of getting back into that high, friendly, this is the face of Games Workshop, and they're actually responding to community involvement, basically, and community boards. And that's really, since getting into the hobby and the last few months and everything, that's all I've known of it. So I know nothing of the days of yore. People are like, Games Workshop basically doesn't listen to players. To me is kind of foreign.
Once upon a time, they didn't.
Yeah.
Actually, that's news to me that you mentioned that they really are now. So.
Yeah. I've been watching some other channels. The Arch Warhammer, I like his videos. People know him real well, and like I said, the stuff with the Long War and just things on the forum, I've noticed that they've actually taken some constructive player input and talked about it. So, Mini Wargaming, that's another channel that he was talking about that as well. So yeah, there's just some really good stuff. I think it's a really good time to be getting into the hobby. I think 40K, at least for sure in our area, I think, and I hope that the hobby is kind of seeing some sort of resurgence a bit back. I would say the only thing I've really heard people super complain about at all, or the most that I've heard complain about is, model pricing. But there's 1,000,001 videos out there where they talk about, all hobbies can be considered expensive and the relativity of all that stuff. So I tend to agree with the fact that anything can be expensive if you're looking at it from a certain perspective or getting into it from a certain perspective. And I have been lucky to kind of be paid with an army and have friends who were into the hobby and able to get that and then buy some stuff as well. And we have such a nice range of hobby shops around here. It really hasn't been that much different to me than really any other gaming hobby or any other hobby I've done in the past. So,
and that pretty much brings us to why we started doing these podcasts. It's meant for newer players and players like myself who have been away from the game for quite some time, getting back in it and
right.
brushing the dust off your armies and rolling some dice, and putting in some work. But we don't rule out seasoned vets, people who really enjoy the game. They play on a regular basis and everything. I'm sure there's a fair share of you out there listening to us right now. So, we appreciate and look forward to everybody's feedback and comments and everything. And each podcast we plan on having some sort of a poll. We already gave out the one for this one, and
for sure. Yep. And of course, we want your feedback and things too. Before we end the podcast, I'm going to go ahead and cut to. I'm going to sit down with Mike Guest, the gentleman that owns Wings, Wheels, and Waves in Massillon, who generously hosted our launch party for the podcast, and just ask him a few questions and have him talk for a little bit about the shop and his background and that sort of thing. And then we'll just cut to closing it out. So we'll go ahead and head right over to that. All right, everyone. So we'll go ahead and get into the last part of the podcast here. We're going to go ahead and interview the owner of the shop here at Wings, Wheels, and Waves, where we had the launch party for the podcast. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over here to Commissar Mike to go ahead and ask some questions. So, Mike, if you will.
Okay, Mike, go ahead and let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Mike and Mike.
What your shop is all about.
Well, my name is Mike Guest. I have owned the shop here for almost 7 years. We do a little bit of everything here. Besides playing 40K, we do a number of other tabletop games like Flames of War, Bolt Action, Star Wars, the X-Wing miniature game, Imperial Assault, just everything. We have D&D games, we've got models, we've got trains, we've got rockets, almost anything you could want hobby-wise. We're a full-service store.
Well, people who play here at the shop know you're a big Imp Guard player. What other armies do you have?
Besides the Imp Guard, which I started when I was actually over in England back in 2008, I have Space Marines, I have Space Wolves, I have a little bit of everything, really. I've got a big box full of sisters that aren't painted, but I've got a little bit of everything, so I pick and choose when I play what I play.
Do you plan to paint the sister army?
Never,
No, it's just not happening.
Nah. Being a store owner, you know,
this is not time, huh?
I have less time to work on my hobbies than when I traveled for a living.
Yeah, well, if you want somebody to paint the Sisters Army,
I'm your man.
Yeah, you can't even decide on whether you want to play Space Marines, Eldar, or Imp Guard. Like the Commissar, ladies and gentlemen.
Always play.
Inquisition. Inquisitor Nathan's putting the hammer down. Anyway, so that won't interrupt. Continue with your line of questioning, Commissar.
All right. Finally, what type of events do you have here at your shop?
Like I mentioned, besides playing 40K, we every week we play Flames of War. During the winter months, we're open on Sundays, so we can have any sort of tabletop game. Last Sunday we played Star Wars X-Wing miniature game.
And you guys just did a Magic pre-release here as well, right?
Yes, we did. So we play Magic every Wednesday. We have Pokemon.
Cool.
Pokemon League, we have Yu-Gi-Oh players, we have a few Force of Will players, just a little bit of everything. Dungeons and Dragons, we have a group now that's just starting the new Game of Thrones role-playing game.
Oh, cool. I didn't know there was a role-playing game out. I knew there's the card game, but not the role-playing game.
Yeah, it's a fairly new game that some of our players have gotten into, and our veteran group is starting to play that.
Very cool. Well, again, thanks a lot for letting us do the launch party here. We had pretty good turnout, and hopefully some people were able to take advantage of the stuff you had going on for that, and much appreciated. For anyone who is interested on coming and seeing the shop here and stopping in locally, it's 125, right?
Yep.
125 Erie Street North.
Correct.
Downtown Massillon, Ohio. So come on in and stop in and play some games. And thanks everyone for listening. We hope to see you in the next episode. Have a good night, everyone.